So here we are. We have come to the end of the Independence Day whiskey review extravaganza party. And I wanted to review a kind of whiskey that is as American as American Pie, as George Washington, as Ford or Chevrolet. And that would be rye whiskey. Bourbon tends to get all of the press as being the most American of all whiskeys, but to be historically appropriate, rye whiskey was our very, very first, it was the very, very first of all of the whiskeys in America. Rye whiskey is really hard to make. Actually, I'm a home brewer, and from time to time, I'll make a like a rye IPA or a rye pale ale or a stout spiced with rye, and I'll tell you, it's definitely one of the hardest grains to work with. In fact, it is the hardest grain to work with because whenever you mash it in, it soaks up all the water that you put into it. All right, and what you're left with, you really have to calculate how much water that you want to put into it because the rye is so sponge-like that it makes it really hard to work with. So Wild Turkey came out with a rye a number of years ago, way before rye was cool. Rye is certainly cool these days. The craft distillery world is rye crazy. Even the big boys love to make rye. Jim Beam has a rye, which I hope to review soon, and things like Whistle Pig, which is sourced from Canada, is a rye, 100% rye. From what I understand, this is about a 62 or 63% rye. I have only heard about Wild Turkey 101 rye, and so when I went to the liquor store and I saw this, I had to buy it. This is actually a 1 liter bottle of it, and in New Jersey they really make you pay for it. This was $40, which is a little bit heavy on the price tag, and I'll tell you kind of why. It is 50.5%. It is Wild Turkey at 101. Just like in my earlier review for Wild Turkey Forgiven is what I want. It's most certainly what I want. So let me get into the nose and the taste of it. And I also kind of want to focus on the difference between what I experienced with the Forgiven and what I experienced with the true rye whiskey part of this, okay? Because it actually surprised me how different they really are. And whatever they did with the Wild Turkey bourbon must have really added to that Forgiven experience. All right. When it came to the Wild Turkey Forgiven edition, it was all about the cherries, whether it was cherry cola or fresh cherries or the sour cherries, which you now know that I am completely obsessed with. This one just it's a totally different experience. So on the nose, you get that classic rye deli bread smell. It is very, very spicy on the nose, and it's actually kind of hard to tell if it's the spice from the rye or if it's spice or heat from it being young. You do get a very nice cola note. You get raw vanilla bean. You get some of the baking spices, nutmeg, allspice, cloves. There's certainly citric acid in here, and there's a really very nice black pepper note to it. On the taste, it's brown sugar right up front. This one's really cool because you get, like I said with the baking spices, allspice and cloves, which kind of follows into Jamaican jerk seasoning. Okay. There's also some nice cake notes like spice cake. Spice cake is my favorite cake. It's the one that I asked for my birthday. And then very similar to that, carrot cake. In the fall, a very popular thing to have is pumpkin coffee. Pumpkin coffee is really heavy with allspice and cloves and nutmeg, and there are notes of that in here as well. The one thing that I'm kind of surprised about is that I do not get cinnamon from this at all. And for my favorite ryes, cinnamon is usually my favorite part. So the finish on Rittenhouse rye is basically a rye, or I mean a cinnamon, like fireball, like cinnamon candy finish. And there's really, I mean, I am not picking up cinnamon. If you do, please let me know. But I just don't get it. It's really weird. The flavors are kind of light on this, and it's at 101, just like I like. And I was starting to wonder, well, maybe I was wrong about asking for such a high proof as 101. So I cut it with a little bit of water, and nothing came out. I mean, it's just a fairly light flavored whiskey. It's also kind of hot. I mean, more hot than it should be. I know it's at 101, and as you can see, I have not added water to it. But it's got that cayenne or ginger kind of spiciness to it that is not really something that you really want to experience in a whiskey. On the finish, you get all those baking spices. So it's almost like I just ate pumpkin pie or something, or spice cake or carrot cake. That's kind of what I feel like on the end of it. You know, this is a whiskey that I've been looking for a long time. When I found it, I was really happy about it, and of course I bought it. I have a whole liter of it, for crying out loud. But it's less than spectacular. And from what I've read online is that in the past, this was a very affordable, flavor-forward rye whiskey. And this one's pretty light. It's pretty light. And it is a little bit hot, a little bit spicy, more than it should be. Of course, I look forward to a spicy rye whiskey. I love rye whiskey. I really do. And this one lends more towards distillate that are more from, the the end of distillation more than the heart. And that's just an opinion. And, like I've told you many times, this is just my opinion. You could be on a totally end of the spectrum and you might like this stuff, and don't get me wrong, I'm going to enjoy this. I really am. I'm going to make Manhattans out of it. I'm going to make old fashions from it, and I might even macerate it with some cherries. But this is not the sipper that I was hoping for. This receives an 82 out of 100 for me, which is one of the lower ones that I've had so far. And it's kind of a letdown. And for Brown Liquor Review number 25, I saved this one for, somewhat of a milestone review, because that's how excited I was about it. And believe me, I'm not trying to kill it. I'm not trying to say don't ever buy this, ever again. But I am saying if you buy this, make sure it is at a reasonable price. And don't expect to get blown away. There are other ryes out there that are better. George Dickel rye is better than this. Rittenhouse rye, of course, is better than this. The higher end ones like Whistle Pig and Jefferson rye is better than this, but it is good, and I actually look forward to making some really tasty cocktails out of this. So, hey, if you've been listening to this, and this is the 8th review that I've done today for an Independence Day whiskey review extravaganza party, thank you so much for tuning in. And I really hope that you like, comment, subscribe, but more importantly, I hope that you comment so that we can, have a dialogue about what your experience with this one is. So I look forward to seeing you back at my house when I'm not on vacation, and I have some more reviews in the queue that are ready to go. So I will see you soon, and cheers. Happy Independence Day. God bless America. And drink your whiskey, rye, bourbon, single malt, scotch, whiskey from Taiwan, whiskey from India, whiskey from anywhere. Whiskey is a really great thing, and that's why I do these reviews, because it's really my passion. So, Slàinte, cheers, chin chin, whatever it is. Have a great day.